Hey, hello everyone. So I wanted to make a debunk video to this dude because I don't think their server really treated me fairly. And of course, they all jumped on me and they were saying a lot of stuff. They're saying I'm wrong. They didn't let me speak, got muted, and got kicked out of the server. So we will make a debunk video right here and just go in what it is. So the debate was Cell versus Saitama, but we didn't even get to that. It was more so just me disagreeing with his scaling for pretty valid reasons, and we'll go over why, and we'll debunk some of the scaling he had and why his arguments can't even be used in the first place. So the first thing really that he said was that a statement should be taken at face value without context. But obviously, like, you need to know the context, and that was the important part of it, and that is what I was getting at. And I'm going to connect this to Dragon Ball, but this is an example of why you shouldn't just believe everything someone says. So say, for example, someone claims for me. They say, oh, Z-Raw, he got a 52-inch vert. And then I never prove I have a 52-inch vert. I never jump 52 inches. I don't even jump close, but I still do impressive things. I like dunk or whatever. And then later down the line, I come and say, oh, I have a 35-inch vert. I will jump 35 inches in the air. And I like hype it up a little bit. Well, this is what's happening with King Kai's statement of Frieza being universal and Cell. So King Kai says, oh, Frieza, he's going to destroy the universe in Frieza's second form. But we never see Frieza do anything close to that. Frieza never destroys a solar system, never destroys a star, no galaxies, nothing. But he still does do impressive stuff. He destroys, planets, and pretty casually even. He's not really struggling too much to destroy the planets. He's doing it casually. But none of that sort, no universe level of feats. And then we have a character later on, Cell. He says, I will destroy the solar system. And keep in mind, Cell also doesn't destroy anything close to the universe either. But he's hyping up solar system level destruction. He's not saying he's going to destroy Gohan along with the planet. He's going to destroy the solar system, and he's hyping it up. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean he can't destroy a little bit more than the solar system. But if he's hyping up solar system level destruction, why would I believe he can destroy the universe? Same reason why you shouldn't believe that person saying I have 52-inch vert if I am claiming and hyping up 35 inches and I never jump even close to 52 inches. You can assume, oh, maybe he jumps 37 or a little bit higher than 35. That's possible. But 52, like how? But regardless of this example, I think this is a good example of why you shouldn't just believe what a character says, especially in Dragon Ball, when they can be unreliable and wrong. But it's more so we could just debunk this using power levels for Frieza. So for example, right, Frieza, this statement was made in second form Frieza by King Kai. So he has a power level of 2 million or lower, probably lower than 2 million. But let's use 120 million. Let's use his max power level. And let's be super generous. We know this isn't true either, but let's say a power level of 1, just 1, destroys any type of planet in Dragon Ball. That 120 million times difference, it being 120 million times stronger than being able to destroy the largest planet, still wouldn't get you to universal level destruction. It wouldn't even get you close. It wouldn't even make a dent in the universe. And you could just, one, there's guides for this. There's ways to scale this. There is destructive capability, things that usually power scalers use. There's wikis on it. And you could look them up, find the destructive capabilities for cosmic structures. There's buildings in it too. It says how much power you would need to destroy this much. And then there's that you could see. And then you could see the difference between a planet, destroying a planet, and even like a galaxy is astronomical. But even if you think of it just from a common sense standpoint, you would know this is true as well, based on the size of the universe. So we know it's not true. And I was being very generous with the scaling, with 120 million times stronger than planet level. It's more like 2,000 or even lower than that times stronger. So we know Frieza can't be universal based on power levels that are official power levels. And the only counter argument I could see to this is being that, well, power levels aren't linear. But if power levels weren't linear, at least the official ones, then Goku going from power level of 3 million to 150 million wouldn't make sense. So yeah, because of that, we know that power levels are at least somewhat linear, at least the official power levels. So Frieza therefore just simply cannot be universal. But one of his main arguments, he wanted me to believe that first, or someone else in the server wanted me to believe that when it's just easily debunked and makes no sense anyway. We shouldn't believe King Kai regardless, and I already stated why. But his other statement was that Android Saga Goku, as a Super Saiyan, based on TN's one statement, I asked for more examples, didn't get any more. He is universal because he is a dimensional plane higher than TN. He scales above him through dimensionality, which he interprets TN's statement to mean that. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, this doesn't make any sense because dimensionality scaling wasn't around when TN made that statement. Dimensionality scaling wasn't even around in the 2000s. It came, in my opinion, I think in the 2020s or from when I experienced it. But apparently, if you look it up, it originated in 2015. But this statement was made in the 90s or the early 2000s. I believe the 90s when TN made this statement. So you know it just can't be true. You can't make a dimensionality argument because it didn't even exist. That aside, the argument is still weak though, and we'll get into why. Because he tried to connect a bunch of unrelated things and then just try to connect them to make this argument. For example, he said Toriyama doesn't like to babble about things. When he says something is meaningful, he does it to strengthen a character. And then he tried to connect that to Tien's statement, which was unrelated. When Tien basically said that Goku power can't be quantified. He cannot quantify his power level. He is so much stronger than Goku's so much stronger than him that he cannot quantify his power level. And then he said, well, this basically means this, that he's on a higher level plane because he can't quantify Goku's power. He's on a higher level plane, which we know can't be true because dimensionality wasn't a thing then. But that is just a weird argument to make anyway because that's your interpretation. Toriyama didn't even say that. You interpreted what Tien or what Toriyama meant through Tien's statement in your own way. He didn't say anything about dimensional planes. He didn't say anything about him being universal. He didn't say anything about him being infinite. None of that is mentioned in Toriyama's statements anywhere about that. But he just claims it for some reason. But yeah, you obviously will not be able to use that type of argument and just assume that it's justified. And when dimensionality isn't around, it can't be justified either. And what Tien or what Toriyama is more than likely trying to display, and what the general consensus is for what he's trying to display through Tien's statement, is that Tien, keep in mind, he's never seen Goku go Super Saiyan. He doesn't use a character like Piccolo that's stronger than Tien. He uses Tien because Tien is witnessing for the first time Goku just jump in power all of a sudden and go Super Saiyan, and it shocks him as to how powerful he is, and he can't sense his ki. And we see this many times in Dragon Ball where people lose track of someone's ki because they all of a sudden get so much stronger than they were before. That doesn't mean that they're on an infinite higher plane than them. It doesn't mean that they're on a different plane of existence than them. It just means that they got so strong that they can no longer even like fathom their power. It happens all the time. It doesn't mean that they keep jumping up in dimensional planes. That's a ridiculous argument. That doesn't make any sense at all. But in dimensionality wasn't even a thing in Dragon Ball. So that doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, that's all we got to for the conversation. And it didn't go higher than that. I asked for more examples, but he got mad because I was disagreeing with him for good reason, because it makes no sense. Logically, it makes no sense when you actually think about it. But that is all we got to. Now, as for Saitama, because I want to get to Saitama a little bit, I don't think he's universal necessarily, but I think he scales high enough to the point where he either scales above Cell or similarly enough to scale before taking his growth into consideration. Saitama can just grow right past Cell very easily. And even if he doesn't, his feats that he performed were done before he grew exponentially. So he could win regardless. Now, this isn't an in-depth reason why he wins, but that is a basic overview as to why I think he wins. And yeah, that's it for the debunk. I don't think this guy really made any sense. I've debated many people, and even though I've disagreed with many people, ultimately we come to somewhat of an understanding, and I don't have to make a debunk video on them. It's just, okay, we disagreed on this, but this part was okay. But this was ridiculous, and I got jumped in a very biased server, and I'd be fine to do a debate again. I will debate this guy anytime in a server that is not his own, where he bans and kicks me out when he gets mad. And that is all.